so if we could just shuffle the order before, after we get through 1 and 2.
Okay, so,
I mean, it was further down because the first 3 items were continued from the previous meeting, so they always go first on the agenda, but the deviation needs to come before the project.
okay. Okay, and then, any other announcements from the staff?
No.
I guess I have one announcement that's just a reminder. I think I've received the financial disclosure form that each of us is responsible for completing in the mail a couple weeks back. And I believe those are due before July 1st in the, I usually turn them in the office right down the hall here, the supervisor's office. So, okay, in that case, anything else we need to deal with before we get to the first agenda item? All right. Tim, if you would introduce the Keys to Shine monument sign.
Yes, thank you. Tim Brown with Planning and Development. This particular item has been around for a while. It was continued from the February 7th, March 7th, April 4th, and May 2nd DRB meetings. The first 4 meetings was waiting for additional information that we had not received from the applicant. The May 2nd, was from lack of a quorum. But subsequent, he did provide a revised sign graphic and also a paint chip showing the color, because what the concern was what is the actual color of this sign, because it just talked about painted aluminum. So he did provide a paint chip, he did provide a revised graphic. I don't know if they're here tonight or not. I don't believe so. But we did get additional information that we had not had previously.
Okay. And for the record, the staff report concludes that the proposal appears to meet the minimum criteria of the code.
Yes.
So, do we have any, I guess the applicant, since the applicant's, nobody representing the applicant is here?
Don't believe so.
Okay. In that case, any questions, discussion among the members of the board?
Is that SW iceberg, that color for the entire sign? Is that what they're saying?
Yes, that's the actual color of the sign.
Okay.
It looks like except the posts.
The posts are white.
I believe so. I believe the posts are white, yes.
They match the house or the building.
I believe that's right, yes. Yes. The posts are white and the sign is that, and I don't know if that's a Sherwin-Williams color or what, but
It
it's one,
says SW.
yeah.
Do we actually have the color chip itself?
Just what's, I mean, he emailed it to me.
Okay.
And I printed it out. I mean, I didn't think I could have emailed it to you guys so you could see it on the screen, because it will change a little bit by printing it out, but, you know.
No, it's here.
Oh, that's right. You guys have, I have it printed out, you guys have it on your screen.
Right. Yeah, it's just the color changes. I never like to make decisions without the chip.
I mean, this looks like a gray-ish color, so I don't, I mean, our risk without any color information at all is, you know, who knows what it's gonna look like when it actually gets out there, who knows what color it'll be, but I think that was the whole holdup.
Yeah, because it just said painted aluminum, and that, you're like, what does that mean?
What color, so at least this gives us an idea that it's
It's like a baby blue.
maybe blue,
Looks
gray,
like
sort of.
baby blue.
And we all probably see 3 to 4 different colors
Yeah,
on
I
our
know.
screen.
It's just such a, you know, to me, it's like. There's so many gray.
For what it's worth, looking at the color chip on my screen and looking at the photograph of the building, the color of the body of the building appears to be pretty close to the color chip. That's not the most precise way to do that, but
You mean the primary color on the building?
Yeah, the
I think it's
body.
white.
I thought it was white
It's
too.
just white.
I mean, I think my.
This, I think that, I'm pretty sure
Oh,
the
it's
siding,
computer.
it's kind of looks like T111 vertical siding. That, the columns look white. The siding looks like it's a baby blue-gray.
It does to me, too.
Yeah.
Just from driving by the building, I recall it being just a white building, but it could be a little bit different
Yeah.
than the white.
If the color is as it's portrayed on my screen,
Yeah.
I have no problem with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel the same. It probably looks to me like it's close to the color of the roof. So as long as it ties in somehow, but at least we know now that we're at least close to knowing what the color is.
Yep.
Motion to approve.
It's been motion. Do we have a second? I'd second, except I've got the gavel, so I'm not supposed to do that.
No. I'll second.
Okay. So it's been properly moved and seconded. Do we have any further discussion among the members of the board? Any questions or comment? The applicant's not present for the record. Do we have any questions or comments on this item from the audience? No one has indicated a desire to comment, so I believe we are ready to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Tim. So,
I'm kind of struggling to get my documents to show.
okay.
I need a minute.
So the next item up is not too shabby sign deviation. I believe this item has been, the not too shabby property has been before us previously, and I believe this is a new item for this meeting.
Yes, I didn't put it in the staff report. It actually was continued twice. The first time it was continued because they didn't post a sign and send out the letters. Then the last time was in May when we didn't have a quorum. But this is a request from Not Too Shabby for an additional building sign. And that building, when it was Brocanti Antiques, received DRB approval for an additional building sign on July 10th, 2013. So they're basically asking for the same thing because it's a very long building. So Brocanti had a sign on the left side and one on the right side, and they're basically wanting to do the same thing. They got one sign on the left side and they want to put one on the right side. So it does require, because it's a new business, it requires a deviation, but the same exact deviation was granted to that building previously in 2013. So I will answer any questions you may have about that.
I have a question. Doesn't the code say one sign per building unless it's at least 15,000 square feet?
Right.
single
Well,
owner occupied?
It's still one sign. You can have a bigger sign if it's over 15,000 square feet. You can go from 54 square feet to 100 square feet.
Okay.
But it's still one sign per building.
So what you're doing is dividing the one big sign into two signs that
More-
add to the same square footage.
More or less. And at that time in 2013, to balance it out, because they actually wanted to put it like all together,
Yeah, no.
they said,
Okay.
put some of it on the left side, some of it on the right side, and it'll be balanced. And I think that's true.
Oh, it's much better, yeah.
But
that's true.
they wanted to do just one huge, big sign.
Is it acceptable to talk about some of the conversation we had with the owner at the last meeting?
You'll have to talk.
I don't think that's problematic.
Okay.
I mean, it was in the public meeting, so, and for those of you that weren't here, just for your benefit, one of the things we also discussed in great detail is that this project, and you can see actually by the picture here, the monument sign is way over to one side of the property. So they're not getting the benefit as much so as most people who typically have their sign in a very visible location right in front of their business, of having visibility of their monument sign. So that was one of the big points that, I don't see him here tonight, but.
Is the applicant present? Yes, okay. Would you like to come forward, sir?
Oh, there he is. I
Yep.
couldn't see you back there. There you go. So, I just wanted you guys to have the benefit of that conversation, that information as part of, one of the things they're struggling with visibility.
Good evening, members of the board. Thank you for
hearing me again today. And as per your request,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but per the request, if you could introduce yourself and spell your name for the record.
I'm sorry, yes, I'm Tony Gullo, Gullo, owner of Not Too Shabby, along with my wife Marisol Gullo. We both own and operate Not Too Shabby. We have for 8 years now, and as a lot of you know, my wife was awarded the 2017 South Walton Artist of the Year, which it was a great honor to her, and she's, really went above and beyond to fulfill those obligations. Even in 2018, the new Artist of the Year is supposed to travel around with the county and support, promote the town, and they asked her to do it again an additional year, and she did. So she's a very proud member of our community, and so am I.
Thank you. And just to point one other thing out, in case you forget, and it was germane to our conversation at the last meeting, is that you all are the owners of the business, but unfortunately not of the building.
Correct.
And so one of the conversations we had about the monument sign and your ability to move the monument sign is limited. So you
Correct.
can only do what your landlord will do.
Now, I
so.
did speak to the owner of the building, who, he's a decent guy. He lives in New York, though. He doesn't live here. He's an older gentleman, but he's written letters for me and said, anything that you want to do there, I will give you approval to do as long as the board approves that. So
Yep.
he's okay with me doing anything over there. I've actually improved upon that building. If you all remember, it was a bright red building when we took it over, and we've certainly, I feel, have improved upon the look of that building for our corridor there. As per your request, David, I took some pictures of the monument so I can show you guys, and I can show you, even if we move the monument, there's a speed sign right in the middle of where we would put that, and that would probably create maybe an issue. But if I may, can I give you guys?
Yeah, if you give us that,
printed
it can
some
be,
stuff out?
yeah, we'll accept it to the record.
Okay. So here are I think I put these. Here's the monument, and yes, and then this is just a picture of the building, and then here's the sign right here, that is, a speed sign that's right kind of in the middle of the.
And where is the monument sign?
Okay, so the monument sign.
Down at this end of the?
Yep.
Yeah, correct.
If y'all could, make sure you're in front of microphones when you're speaking, okay?
So as you'll see, the monument sign is over to the west side of the building. The issue with that monument sign is when you're driving eastbound, the bushes of hidden palms blocks that monument. When you're driving westbound, there's a big, like, a Sprint AT&T power box kind of in front of it. So as much as I enjoy and like having it, it's just not satisfying the need of identifying that building. And then I also printed out another photo of just the entire length of the building, and it almost looks out of place that there's not a sign on that portion of the building to indicate what it is that we're doing there. And, we support a lot of the local artists there, my wife being an artist, and the art community in our area is a pretty tight community. We feature artists, every month we'll feature a new artist in there. So it would just be nice to inform the public of what it is that we're doing in there. And when we originally designed that sign, as you can see, it's just not complete. It was Not Too Shabby by Marisol Gullo, and then it was supposed to say, interior, furniture, interiors, and art, what it is that we do there. So to me, it almost looks out of place that there's not, that sign is not complete. And I understand, and I can appreciate trying to keep the corridor not looking like, Front Beach Road, I absolutely understand that. But as you can see in the proposal, that's not what we're doing, and we will keep that sign. We'll do a nice LED sign, just like the Not Too Shabby sign, and it will look good. And it's our business to make things look good. That's what we do.
Okay.
All right.
Can I make for clarification for the record?
confused here.
Tim, 1 second. These exhibits here, I'm going to mark these as applicant's composite Exhibit A, further, and keep it in as part of the record.
Okay, thank you. And there were 3 items that you have, right? Yeah, okay, awesome. Okay,
Okay. What happened with this monument sign is, if it's a previously approved sign and all you're doing is changing the text, I can improve that as a scenic corridor specialist. So that's what happened here. They came in and said, we want to take the old text off, put the new text on. If they came in with a new sign, it would have had to come to this board, but they could put it anywhere they wanted on the property.
yeah.
That's where it was sitting. They're like, we'll just redo the text. So when you're asking, can you move the sign, the answer absolutely is yes. It just has to come back to this board. Originally, it just came through me because they were just changing
Yeah.
the text.
I don't even
Yeah,
want
that's
to.
not, that's
don't-
not the
That's
issue.
not the issue.
Yeah.
Then
You
what's,
weren't here last month.
no, what,
No, we were just,
So-
he made the
Mi-
point, or do you?
Yeah, I brought it up, that, in looking at the
DOT
building,
might
I started
Yeah,
thinking
he just
about
wanted
this
to
building
see the
compared to
sign.
other
That's-
buildings. And my question was, is if, most buildings, even larger, buildings with larger frontage can make do with one compliant sign on the front of the building because they have a fairly significant monument sign in addition out front.
right.
And in this case, so I asked the question of, I couldn't recall having driven by whether there was a monument sign, and that to me is indicative that if there is, it's
There's a
not very
problem.
significant.
Yeah.
And so I asked the question of, would improving on the monument sign or relocating it or building a new one be an option? And so the applicant was responsive by bringing us back some photographs of the monument
Okay.
sign.
Because I was just confused about,
That's
when
all.
you're talking about moving the sign, the
Yeah.
answer is absolutely yes, you can
Yeah.
move the sign.
Well, so I guess the point being is, and what was not known at the last meeting, because I was the one who brought up this monument sign issue, was would the landlord be willing
To let
not
it
only to
happen.
allow it, but,
Yeah.
perhaps to pay for it? I'm conscious of the fact that businesses are in the business of making money, not necessarily spending money on signage. And and I have an additional, now that I see the sign and looking back at the site plan, one of the other things that's this building is obviously, in this parking lot, has been around a long time. It has a very narrow landscaping strip, and I think installing this monument sign in the middle of the property, which would make it more visible, would probably also require some landscaping around it to make it look nice. And so I'm now
It
gonna,
impacts parking.
no, and I don't know that it would fit. So that would become quite a large endeavor.
Yeah,
So I'm now going to express my opinion as one member of the board, and that is that I think the most sensible way to achieve a reasonable amount of signage on this property would be to do exactly as we're being asked tonight for this deviation. So thank you for responding to my questions about the monument sign from last time. It satisfied me that
Yeah,
the
sorry if I
monument sign
confused
isn't the
everybody with
solution. The deviation request is probably the solution.
Well, that area is very tight with how much
Yeah, and you probably end up
right-of-way DOT
sacrificing the parking
has
space and,
taken.
yeah.
But as far as the other issue about
Major issue,
the
yeah.
sign not being
Get power to it,
complete,
light it.
the problem with
Yeah.
that is the code only allows you to put the name of the business.
Sure.
So you could ask for a deviation to put the rest of it on there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you could go for them and ask for a
I think that's what we're
deviation.
doing.
But I just want to point that out.
Yep.
The reason he couldn't
No
do
one's picking on
that
you, Tim.
is
Yep.
because you're only allowed to put the name of the business.
Yep, yeah, no,
Where?
thank
On
you
your-
for
on your
clarifying that.
monument
but yeah.
sign.
Yeah, the issue didn't come up because we felt there was a flaw in the way
No,
the
no,
staff handled it.
I'm
Yeah.
just trying to clarify, that's all.
Okay, yep. So, all right, so we've thoroughly pounded the,
I know, it's from last week.
Okay,
pounded that issue
move
into the ground.
to approve.
Okay. All right, we have a motion to approve from Lourdes and a second, to approve the deviation request as presented. So do we have any comments or questions from other members of the board? All right, any other comments or?
I'm sorry, who made the motion, who seconded it?
Lourdes made the motion.
Yep.
And I
Donna
second.
You seconded it.
Yep.
Rachel asked me to keep track of who's
Oh.
making the motion.
Can I make a question real quick?
Yes, ma'am.
You're gonna have the sign, your monument sign lit up, right?
The monument sign is not lit up. Again, I'm not too concerned with the monument sign. The
Okay.
monument sign can just stay there, and it would be a big deal to move that because people park right there against
No, you
that
don't
fence.
wanna move it,
So,
no.
yeah, I would just think that the better solution is just to do what I'm trying to.
Yeah,
Right.
no, I agree, totally agree.
So,
Okay,
I wanna add anything.
All right, in
Thanks
that
for the
case, we've
question.
heard from the board, we've heard from the applicant. One last group of people we have to talk to are the audience. Does anybody in the audience wish to comment upon this item? No one indicates they wish to comment, so that brings us to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you guys very, very, very much.
Thank you, sir, for
The
your
sign will
patience.
be awesome. I
Yes. Awesome. All right, now, we have to do item 5 before item 3. So that means we do both of them before item 4? Did I have that with a question mark? That was a statement. Yes, all right. Item 5, Habitat for Humanity color deviation request.
That's pretty nice.
Okay, item number 5,
I just
Habitat
guessed
for
rotate.
Humanity color deviation. In your materials, it shows that they're asking for 2 colors, blue and green, but really they're only asking for the green because the blue is in the sign and the color doesn't apply to the signage. So the request is, and you can see from the graphic where the green's going to go, the request is for a color deviation to that green.
But the green is on the sign too, on the old, isn't it?
Yes,
Okay.
but,
I know, it just matches nice.
yeah, it does. But when it came in, I told them, it's like, you don't need a deviation for the blue because the color
Right,
doesn't apply
right,
to the
yeah, I
sign.
understand.
So, I mean, that's it in a nutshell. I'll answer any questions. I guess these are Habitat's corporate colors.
Okay, any other comments from staff at this point?
No?
All right. Do we have, before I ask the applicant, if everyone's okay, I'm going to ask the applicant to make a brief presentation. So anybody have any questions or comments before that? Okay, Mr. Applicant, if you could introduce yourself for the record and make a brief presentation.
All right. Dean Burgess with Emerald Coast Associates. What's before you today is the request for a color deviation on the green color, and I've got a color swatch I can pass around to y'all so you can get a good look at it. It's in your booklet. I've put up our rendering here so you can see the color in context. And the reason for the request is this is a trademark Habitat Restore Green, as they call it. So if anyone's interested in this color swatch,
Yes, please.
be happy to pass it around. And there's not a whole lot to elaborate on. It's one color deviation that we're asking for. If there's any questions of me, or I have the architect, Mr. Dennis Evans with CDE Architects, and the owner, Mr. Steve Buffington, is here with me tonight as well.
Okay. Okay, members of the board, do you have any, I believe everybody's had a chance to look at the lucky green?
I
like
have
that.
a clarifying question. Dean, I remember when I looked at the other item for the overall approval, am I correct that the southern elevation is completely almost perpendicular to 98,
Correct.
and the eastern is just there?
Well, the southern elevation is parallel to 98.
Yeah, but it pretty much faces it,
Correct.
not at a,
It's not
angle or
it's not
anything.
skewed at an angle. No, the,
and then the west elevation fronts veterans. Is that right? Am I remembering that correctly?
it does not front
It
veterans.
doesn't.
No.
It's-
There's a,
lot between.
yes, there's
Okay.
a remaining
Just wanted to
strip
make sure
of
I was
land there.
Placing it correctly in my mind.
Yep. There's about a 3-acre tract between us and veterans.
Okay,
Okay.
so my understanding, the green will be facing the next lot, right?
Yes, it will face to
The
the
go-
east
you're-
and to the north, which of course
Okay.
you won't see from Highway 98.
The roll-up dock doors and then the louvers on the west elevation to the airflow.
And actually, the green does not face Highway 98.
Right.
There's no green in that. in the
Right,
front
right, that's
elevation.
my point.
Right.
But I think it's a really nice building,
Very.
for my book.
For a warehouse,
I'm
yeah, very
impressed
good looking,
that-
yeah.
You know,
they
it's
can
really
build that.
refreshing.
Yep.
Very
So,
impressed.
I have a-
wanna have some of
A
for mine.
couple questions
What?
that may best
I
be,
want some of their funding for mine.
Me too.
this question, any members of the applicant team certainly can answer this question. But the drawing itself that's in our packet indicates there's a color legend to the lower left of the sheet, and it has colors C1, which is a fairly neutral Munsell color that I assume staff is within our range that's approved. C2 is clear anodized aluminum, which I specifically recall in our code is allowed. And then C3 actually says green or blue habitat colors, and it gives us a green Munsell color and a blue Munsell color. And just to clarify the staff's comments, the blue Munsell color is an approved color?
No,
It's
No,
not.
it's
So
not being
either,
used.
but it's part of the sign. Color doesn't apply to sign.
No.
Yeah.
yes,
yeah,
but
we
I guess when
understand
I'm,
that.
when I'm reading this packet, the word or, green or blue habitat colors
Oh.
are, so C3 could be blue, it could be green according to the drawing. And so I just want to clarify for the record, is it the applicant's intent that you're requesting the green this evening? Because I just want to make sure that the drawings that we're considering are slightly different than the presentation, is I guess my point. I want to make sure, do we have, are you presenting us with the choice of picking the blue or the green? Or is it your intent to ask us for a deviation?
No,
approve
to the
green?
best of my knowledge, we are only asking for the green. In other words, the doors will not have the opportunity to be blue.
Blue, okay, that's your intent, okay.
When we first started, we wanted to do the doors either blue or green in the habitat color. Then as
Yeah.
we got into the design, worked with the architect, worked with designers, the green appeared to be more neutral, we wanted to stay very clean, very neutral, and we just felt the green color was the.
Okay, yeah, well, that explains why I think the drawings were produced at the time where there was a green or blue conversation going on. Good, okay, so is that now clear? Did that help everybody? All right.
And those colors, they provided the Munsell colors, but those are not in the approved palette.
Understood, yep. So, okay, any other questions or comments from the board?
Yeah, I would like to clarify, those green doors, are you going to be able to see that from 98, or is there something along that side that kind of blocks it?
Well, there's a landscape buffer on the east side that will partially block that from view, but there will be
You'll be able to
an
see.
angle at which you do see those doors.
Okay, okay.
The vacant lot to the west of the green doors, is it a for sale parcel? Is it zoned and will be developed in a similar fashion as this building?
Yes, it's up for sale now, and actually, there's some folks looking at it that I've been working with, and it will be, similar, type
So-
retail development.
So, long-term, 2 years, 5 years, if you're heading west on Highway 98, you won't see green doors.
On the west side, the west side has the little louvered things. The bigger doors are on the east
If
side.
you're
Oh.
heading west.
The
No,
east
no, it's
side.
not. I think it's just the opposite.
That's-
Yeah,
It's just the opposite.
My take is
Any-
that
any-
you are
Did I
probably
read
gonna
it wrong?
see a little bit of the green, because that's where, those are garage doors, right? So
Yeah, the east
there's gonna
elevation.
Be so
open
quick,
space
it's gonna be pretty quick.
for, yeah, but I'm just saying.
If I can approach the board.
Yes, sir, yeah.
This is the east elevation with the roll-up doors. This would be the west elevation with these small louvers and small doors.
So if you're heading west
There would be a small amount of green.
and there were a building there, it wouldn't be really in your face.
No, if you're driving west.
You've got a quick glance out
I
as you
think it looks,
pass. Okay. I like it.
I like it,
Um,
especially the sign color with that,
The sign
that's
color
pretty
looks
good.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks good.
You need a motion.
Yeah, so well, let's make sure we dispose of all the questions or comments. So the item we're considering right now is simply about the color green. And then after this, we'll consider the project as a whole, including the site plan and landscaping and all that type of stuff. So,
And specifically as an accent color in the locations shown.
yeah, okay. Okay, so members of the board, are you satisfied with, you've got the information you need? All right.
I move to approve.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Okay, before we vote, I need to cover the public input. So,
Who seconded it?
Tom?
Tom,
I'm sorry.
Lourdes moved. Yeah, Tom seconded. Okay, any other comments from staff or the applicant? All right, any comments from members of the audience? No one has indicated they wish to comment, so we are ready to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, so that disposes of the color deviation request. Now, staff, is it your intent we now hear item number 3?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is the actual project. It's a major development. They're requesting, the staff report's a little wrong. They ended up reducing the size of the building. So they're requesting 18,836 square foot of retail, office, and warehouse use. And it's going to be one phase as opposed to two. It'll be one phase on 9.94 acres with the future land use of mixed use and a zoning of village mixed use. So the only deficiency, and they're aware of it and they're working on it, but at this time, they didn't provide, because it's vacant on either side. The code requires if you're adjacent to vacant land, you have to do cross-access. So they're showing cross-access to the east, but not to the west. And they're aware of it, and they're working with the property owner. But in terms of the site plan, it's deficient in as much as it doesn't show cross-access to the west. Other than that, it's fully in compliance with the scenic corridor requirements. So
I have a
answer any questions.
question, I guess, and maybe it's best directed at the applicant. It looks like there's a little patch of wetlands on the corner of the site. Is that?
Yeah, the southwest corner. So they're gonna wrap that western cross-access around that wetland.
Okay, so that, in other words, that's.
It's gonna be undisturbed. They're gonna leave that wetland undisturbed.
The photograph is a little, not the photograph, the site plan that's scanned into the packet is just a little bit grainy. So you have referenced this cross-access, and it's not actually jumping out at me as to where that is.
Well,
Is it just the opportunity exists?
well, they are showing it to the east. As if you look at the coming off of Highway 98, the entrance off of 98, it does show the road going to the right. So cross-access to the east, but to the west, it just shows the access drive curving up. But they're gonna wrap it around that wetland, and it'll also go west to that adjacent parcel.
Okay, and so I think we've seen this before. So the adjacent property owner, who I'm imagining this wetland must continue, is going to have the same issue. So we're not going to run into one of these situations where the two driveways end up slightly off. We had a project, I think 2 meetings ago, where we had a driveway that was off by 4 or 5 feet, and both owners threw up their hands and said, well, I'm not fixing it. So we're going to have this kind of cartoon.
Well, I
thing
think
going on.
because it looks like ECA is going to do that western property as well.
Yeah,
So they're going to have coordination because they're going to have the same engineer.
okay. I guess my point being is
I'll let him
which,
answer that question.
Promise,
Yeah.
Dean.
yeah, well, no, and I have every bit of faith that Dean will pull this off, but my point is I'm interested in knowing from the staff, what is Walton County going to accept? Do we need this owner's commitment, and we're going to hope for the other owner's commitment? It seems like it's I think I brought this up at the last meeting when we had this misaligned driveway. It's in my opinion, I'm not an attorney, but we have one here. It seems unfair to hold this owner culpable for what the adjacent owner may or may not do. It's nice that we have a common engineer, but that really shouldn't figure into it.
Right. And it really is a problem because it says if you're adjacent to vacant, you have to do it, and if you're not, you don't. So once this develops, it's no longer vacant, so that guy comes in, there's not a requirement for him to do it. We always encourage it, but we can't make him do it, so that's a good point. Will he do it? Well, we can't make him because the code says that it's only required if it's adjacent vacant property.
Yeah,
It
So-
sounds like a need for a change to the code.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And right now, we kind of have a Cub
Big
Scout thing,
time.
like, do
Yeah.
your best.
I agree, I
Okay.
agree.
Because this has happened, I mean, in.
Well, again, it was a
other
couple meetings
places,
ago,
and it's
we
not
had
good.
2 properties, and there was something, and I believe I belabored it till everybody was about to throw me out of the room, about,
If I could clarify our official position, Matt Carr for the planning department, first one in gets to decide where it goes.
okay.
Second one in connects to it.
But
Yeah.
is there, but
So,
are
I-
they required?
What I'm bringing up
Unless
is,
there is some circumstance physically that makes it unfeasible.
yeah, and
or
I am
infeasible.
sorry to, I'm borderline out of order bringing up, and this, I believe, is related enough. What I'm suggesting is a couple meetings ago, we had an existing property that had a driveway stubbed out. The property before us had their connection drawn a couple feet out of alignment, and they gave us a reason why they couldn't align it. I believe we approved the project, and it's gonna be built, and we're gonna have this misalignment. What I'm trying to do is if it's possible to lay the groundwork for what's gonna happen on the other property in approving this, without, in my opinion, crossing the line and putting an undue burden on this applicant to provide something that may end up being misaligned. Does that make sense? And maybe I need to bring this up at the end of the meeting so we can,
I think we're going to clarify this. We're doing some tune-ups to the land development code. We'll
Yeah.
clarify this.
okay.
But the position right now is the first one in is required to build it. The second one in is required to connect to
Connect
it.
to it, okay.
Unless there's some physical reason that makes it not feasible.
All right. So, then my next question has to do with this project tonight. I believe, and I'll somewhat direct the question to Madam Attorney, but certainly, Mac, if you want to answer it. In approving this, our motion, I'm going to use the word should, include an adequate description of where this driveway is going, if we're going to address that issue.
I would agree.
Yeah, okay.
Do we not have a drawing?
We do.
We do.
I think they have a drawing to present.
Oh, awesome.
That might clarify it all.
Yes, very good. In that case, I will be quiet and invite the applicant back up.
Again, Dean Burgess with Emerald Coast Associates, sorry to keep you in suspense. I sympathize completely with your comments, though, and your concerns. I raised the similar types of concerns when we got the comment from staff. And it's three-dimensional. It's not only a misalignment, but a misgrade. What
Yes.
if we design our driveway 3 feet higher than the neighbor cares to design theirs, or vice versa? I mean, the opportunity for them to be at exactly the right grade with their stormwater system and our stormwater system is
Is your
kinda
water going to end up
unlikely.
in their system, their water going to end up in your system? Yeah,
Well, at least on the west side, no.
Okay,
If,
yeah.
assuming everything works out with the neighbor to the west. But here is how we anticipate connecting. You can see the wetland down in the southwestern corner.
Yep.
And I can tell you that wetland does continue to the west, but it's basically linear, parallel to Highway 98. Doesn't make an odd job to the north.
Okay.
Or south.
Basically, that's its widest point.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Okay, so to paraphrase, that looks like a very reasonable, fair attempt to provide something that the neighbor should be able to connect to.
Oh, I think
Yeah.
that would be great.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we've graded it in such a way where, it doesn't tail off to
Yep. One
match grade
request.
or anything like that.
If we're going to vote tonight, we're probably going to vote based on that drawing. May I have that drawing to
Absolutely.
provide to the? Okay with that? Yep, okay. All right.
It is not.
Oh, that one isn't?
Ours doesn't.
Okay,
Prepared this for the.
because it doesn't show here.
Yep. Yep, he held it up
Yeah,
and
he
explained
just
to us.
showed
And if you, I'm just, not to tell you what to do, but you might want to write today's date in the DRB.
Absolutely, I'm
On
going
there.
to mark this as applicants A.
Okay. Awesome, all right. Staff, are you satisfied we have discussed the driveway connection issue
Yes,
sufficiently?
I just need you to put it in the motion, because since I said
Yep,
it was.
yep, we're going to make reference.
So as long as you put it in the motion,
Yep.
we're good to go.
I think, Madam Attorney, what we want to do is include a reference to Exhibit A that was presented at the meeting.
That is correct. So it would
Perfect.
be the approval based on the specifications of Exhibit A.
Yep. All right, so back to the board. Any other questions or comments?
Just quick, my thing, I'm just struggling to see on the computer here.
There's an equipment enclosure shown
Thank
at
you.
grade, and it's showed to be painted the same neutral color as the building. Looks like it's made out of wood perhaps, or aluminum.
Good, thank you.
The air conditioning
Equipment,
enclosure? I'm assuming it's a reference to,
Mechanical.
it says equipment, not dumpster.
That is air conditioning equipment.
Yep, awesome.
Perfect,
And it's enclosed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
thank you.
And my little deal is lighting. So, do we have a lighting plan
Yep, it's in there.
and landscaping? Yeah, we got a photometric chart here. All right. Okay, and the adjacent uses on either side are similar commercial type stuff?
Currently vacant.
Vacant, but the zone, the future land use and zoning is,
All three lots are being used.
all right, and what's to the, if I'm oriented correctly, what's to the north?
It's a very rundown mobile home park.
Yeah, mobile home park.
All right. Future high-end housing.
The very rundown part of that. That's unfortunate.
That's what usually happens.
Yep, all right. Sorry, that's probably a poor taste joke, but it was a joke, and if it was bad, I apologize. Okay, well, for the record, the lighting levels are down in the .1 at the highest adjacent to that property line. Regardless of what the land use is, if it's residential, it's deserving of darkness, so it looks like they'll get that. And then landscaping, I believe the staff report indicates the landscaping was acceptable as presented?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Do we have any other, I guess I'll make one other observation, that perhaps it'll be in the minutes, that all of the landscaping will be adjusted to accommodate the driveways, which is going to require probably retaining some trees but moving them.
I was going to suggest that. We will take the number of trees and prorate them outside of where the driveway is.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
number
In
of
other words, you
trees
keep
shown
you
on
keep the
the,
number and they just.
correct.
kinda move
They'll
out
be
of the way.
clustered
Yep.
within the available areas of the buffer.
Okay.
Great. Should that be the motion too?
Yeah, we probably ideally would include that in the motion. Okay, so we talked about equipment, lighting, landscaping, driveway connections. Colors we dealt with.
Did you see the lighting? Is there parking lot light posts, or is it all in the building?
There are light posts in the parking lot.
That's why I was looking at the posts all appear to be, yeah, they're all fairly close to the lot, and again, the lighting levels drop down.
I'm
The
just saying
northern,
light and all that.
oh, that's a good question. It doesn't look like they're that, based on the photometric, I think that's one, and it looks like it is well in excess of the, I think, was it 15 feet?
14.
14 feet? 14 feet tall, but what was the proximity to the property line?
Well, if it was more than 14 feet, it'd be set back 10 feet.
10 feet, yeah, so this appears to be well in excess of 10 feet away from the property line.
I ask a question.
Yes, sir.
Did I understand you say, Dean, that the material, landscape material that is in the future connector will not be installed, but the plants that are programmed for that will be put in other areas, so the numbers stay the same, or that they will be removed at the time that western lot is developed and the connector actually put in place?
No, the connection will be installed as part of the development, and the number of trees shown on the landscape plan will be prorated elsewhere in the buffer.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments or questions from the board? Okay, we can get public input before or after the motion, I guess, so I can ask, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak to this issue? Okay, nobody's indicated they would, so I think we're about ready for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Okay, it's been, motion to approve, we have a second?
Second.
Based on,
Okay.
Yes, and we
Yep,
have
okay.
to add into the motion with the
Exhibit A?
access plan of Exhibit A incorporated, and the trees that were on the plan within that driveway redistributed elsewhere on the property. Is that
Okay.
adequate?
Yep, Tim, are you recording the motion? Or is the recording is recording the motion? Okay, awesome. All right.
Seconded.
Okay, so it was moved, and I think Tom, y'all's choice, Tom or Donna?
Oh, I didn't know.
Okay,
So
yes,
he
okay,
does
Tom
mine.
seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. So that brings up item number 4.
Kelly's doing number 4.
Good evening. Kelly Freimeyer from the Planning Department.
Okay, y'all, if you could pause for a second, yeah, we need to have quiet so we can,
Kelly, I think your mic's off.
did it run out of batteries?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
No. Maybe I just wasn't close enough. I'm sorry.
Is it, I don't think it's picking up on the mic, though. I can hear, but I'm concerned about the recording.
Well, it's on the screen.
It is on? Weird. Got a soft voice.
Sorry, I'll try louder. Kelly Freimeyer from the Planning Department. I took the project through TRC review in Tim's absence, so I'm here to present this to you tonight. This is the 30A Country Mart, Sherwin-Williams. This is a project that was approved last year, and the applicant is coming in for a revision to that project. The building elevation is not going to change, but they are requesting a change in the building from general business to restaurant. That change of use does impact the site plan, requires additional parking, and because of that additional parking, a few things had to be shifted around to accommodate the stormwater infrastructure, landscaping, then of course to accommodate, to shift around. So the building elevation itself is not changing, but there are some site plan implications with that change of use. This project did get heard at TRC yesterday, and had a few small revisions, but was approved through the TRC. The applicant is here to answer additional questions about the proposed revision and infrastructure changes to the site plan, and I'm here for any questions as well. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any initial comments or questions from the board before the applicant makes the presentation? Okay.
Hello, my name is Tanya Nation, Tonia Nation. I'm with AVCON. I'm representing the applicant. This project, it did require additional parking spaces. The stormwater was revised, which we had sorry, I'm kind of going back and forth. We had a concrete deck here, and because of the stormwater had to be revised, we ended up putting some stormwater underneath the decking and revised the decking to a composite deck material. So this will be elevated over the stormwater, and the decking was extended as well. And then this stormwater here was more linear. We have landscaping to shield all of the stormwater. None of the lighting changed. We provided revised photometrics to show that these parking spaces are covered, but the original lighting from the original development order has not been modified. Let's see here, all the color on the building, the buildings, the equipment, all of that's still the same. Really, it was just the main changes you'll see are these parking spaces and then the deck. And this deck, it does, it will have, sorry, I'm grabbing my exhibits. I do have this rendering for you. One of the things that TRC had a question about was this deck will have a privacy screen. It is a 6-foot aluminum fence that complies with the scenic corridor criteria, but the aluminum fence is going to be a green screen with green planters on the inside of the fence to help soften and buffer it. There are no buffer requirements on this side of the property, but this allows just to buffer any seating that is placed in here so that they're not seeing the roadway frontage.
Tanya, tell me where the road is here. What are we looking at?
We are,
Is it 98?
so Highway 98 is here. This is Lynn Drive.
Okay.
Veterans Road, and then Veterans Road on the south. So we have 4 frontages. This is a really fun project. So.
Yeah, a lot to deal with.
The deck in the screening, there's a small portion of the green fence that does front 98, but a majority of the frontage of this deck is facing Lynn Drive.
Thank you. So I wish I could still read that from here, but I
Oh,
can't.
sorry. And,
So this is gonna be,
here's 98. and Lynn Drive.
90, how close is 98 from the parking space? Is it just 10 feet or?
No, it's, the property line is here, so 98 is much further away. Sorry, this rendering doesn't show it. From the property line, the parking spaces are 25-foot setback, and then 98 is further. Because we have a big drainage ditch in front of the property as well.
and where is the deck, patio, whatever you call it, on this drawing? Where's
This
it
is
located?
the decking.
That's it.
This
So
Oh,
that's-
so the
yeah, that
stormwater
rendering there
went
just-
under the decking.
The stormwater is going underneath the decking.
Got it.
I have a cross-section for you if you'd like to see that as well.
While you're doing that, I'm going to ask the staff one quick question. Oh, hey. I'm sorry. I didn't see you back down there. So just to clarify what we're considering, this is going to be, are we considering just this change that's indicated in these drawings, or are we reconsidering the entire project?
Just the change.
Just the change.
Yeah,
okay.
the rest of the project was approved last year and is currently in construction. The requested change does have some site implications, which is why we're bringing that back now.
Yes, okay.
But there's no change to the building, it's just the kind of the rest of the site.
Good, okay.
There.
Yep, okay.
Go ahead.
Ms. Nation, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I thought I heard you say the fence would have an aluminum fence?
Yes, this is an aluminum green screen, let me show you.
And was that previously approved? Has there always been a screen,
There was.
6-foot-high fence there?
There was not a screen proposed originally in the original development order. And it'll be integral to the deck, so it will not be up against the property line, it'll be integral to the edge of the deck.
Yeah, so one question for staff. Am I right in saying that the portion of the footprint that's being developed, I understand there's stormwater there, but in terms of the required setbacks for the property, that could have been building if they had found somewhere else to put the stormwater?
Well, they've already met their building 70% of the frontage.
Lot coverage?
Lot
coverage, yeah.
Right, and so they did not have an opportunity to expand the building in that way.
Okay, so the building, okay.
Right.
And code-wise, what amounts to a courtyard, that would not be considered part of the building footprint?
That would be correct, yeah.
Correct, okay. Where I'm going, I'm trying to make sure that we're not, by having a fence of that height, that we're not somehow getting too much lot coverage.
I'm looking at your exhibits.
Yes, sir.
It looks like a fancy chain link fence.
It is not a chain link fence, it is a composite aluminum type powder coated fence. And they didn't want to go with a privacy fence because you can't really vegetate it well, and the intent was to have it more of a vegetative screen.
So you want a live,
Yes.
vegetation crawling on it?
Live vegetation. The landscape architect was saying that in the name of the plant, it's
Jasmine?
Jasmine.
Like-
There it is, sorry. They would like to have a jasmine screen, just to help soften that. Because the wooden privacy fences, they just don't perform well when you put the
About the time the landscaping
vegetative.
gets mature,
Yeah,
the
it
fence
doesn't get
rots.
enough light.
It's awesome.
Talking about
We got
light,
that all over Rosemary.
you said that the lighting plan was already presented and approved,
Yes.
But was it gonna be modified per the new changes or not?
No, it will not be modified.
Did
The
it need to
lighting,
be?
it will not need to be modified. We had the architect and the photometrics that were submitted, they are based on the original lighting plan. We had the architect and their electrical engineer run photometrics to make sure that we had the required lighting to allow for the outside seating, but also to make sure that the parking lot was safe but met all the Walton County criteria with the original scheme, lighting scheme.
What is the color of the fence?
The color of the fence is the landscape architect was calling it just a powder-coated aluminum. The picture there does depict a black color, and so that's something that it is open. He can do a powder-coated black, or he can stick with it just a powder-coated aluminum. And that's something that if y'all requested black or aluminum, he can do either color.
What are the color of the windows?
Yeah, I was
The
gonna say,
black, the windows are
Dark
an
bronze?
aluminum, I believe.
Are they gonna be
They are an aluminum color.
natural aluminum or, that's
Just down
several
there. It's
layers.
a lighter aluminum color.
Yeah, I've seen it, that you drive 98, so then the fence should match the,
Yeah, I could see it
the
being, I mean, either
window.
black,
Yeah,
it could be
the black one.
black or natural. It might, over time, look better if it was black. It would disappear.
Yeah, but if the windows are stainless steel or, the aluminum color, it might be better to have it all match.
Can we
You
have
do
the
the same
staff
rather than black.
read the section dealing with approved fence material for the scenic corridor, please? I think it's wood concrete.
I don't have that. I have it up.
I know chain link fence is specifically excluded,
That is
regardless whether you have
correct.
vegetation on it or not.
That is correct.
That's right, and
Um,
it's not,
so.
it doesn't look like a chain.
It says sign.
Okay, remember, we gotta talk one at a
I
time.
was just there.
Yeah, not to be argumentative, but
No, you're
I
good.
disagree that it's a fancy chain link fence. I've seen this type of fencing before, and it looks much, much nicer in person
Yeah.
than chain link.
It is a
Yeah, that's
very
what I think.
expensive fence material.
Really,
Yes.
I mean, that's what I'm trying to explain to our friend here.
Your cohort here, yes, okay?
Well, I was trying to show them, across from the post office at Seaside, they put those fences and they have the wood structural members, and then they have the stainless steel, sort of like
Yeah.
open fence.
Yeah.
It looks pretty.
Okay, well, just for the record, I've rearranged the agenda. I can rearrange the seating.
Ah.
Get along here.
You mean to
Okay.
gang up on people?
It says acceptable
Yeah.
here, painted.
Acceptable fencing materials include painted or stained wood, aluminum, and steel. Chain link or wire fences are permitted, provided a landscape buffer consisting of shrubs and trees is maintained to screen the fence. These fence styles are not permitted in the front yard.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna, I know we're supposed to comment one at a time, but I think we do need to focus on the color of the fence and dispose of that. I think we've got some differing opinions.
And the
But,
applicant's open to either the natural or the
Yeah,
black.
the black,
The
okay.
black, the landscape architect did agree that his thought was the black would disappear over time a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And that is one thing that they were looking for.
Yeah.
Black is not an approved Munsell color. It could be gray, or it could be
Bronze.
natural, but I'm just verifying black is not an approved color.
Does the color requirement apply to fencing?
I think it would be an accent if it's part of the building. It's, it's attached to the building. I think it's an
Part of the
accent
landscaping.
color.
Yeah, see, the thing, that was my
There are red
point.
flowers in this. Are those approved?
My point is that
Yes,
the
those are
the
approved.
windows are really, they're really prominent, and
They
they're
are
very,
prominent.
aluminum, stainless steel color. And if you add, I know that it will disappear in time.
See that? Can
What?
I get that, Tanya?
And just as a clarification, it's not actually attached to the building, it's just gonna be on the surround of the decking.
I know, but it's
Yeah.
right, it's
Right,
in
adjacent
front
to
of the
it.
building. It's in
Correct.
front of the
Yeah.
building, so it's just gonna seem like part of it.
Yes.
And where are you gonna?
So it would be,
I think it's on this, am I right in saying it's on this end,
so it'd be over
So it's
here.
on the opposite end of the Sherwin-Williams.
Yep, okay,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay.
And it does look like all this trim is a lighter.
There's a
It's
natural
all,
energizer.
yeah,
In
it's
fact,
all
let's-
stainless steel.
Here we go.
It's like
Here's
she was
exterior
driving
color.
through 98.
It doesn't say.
Yeah, yeah. And I just, if there's ever.
This is on the south side of 98, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Between the
Okay.
plants, it's gonna show.
How long a door frame?
It's not.
Yeah, it doesn't call, it's aluminum storefront assembly is 22.
So Tim, if we were to ask
I
for
think it's
the
hidden right
black fence, would that be
But it
considered a
doesn't call
deviation
it.
since it's not?
Fascia.
The color is not.
My opinion, yes, and we'd have to ask the attorney. That wasn't advertised, so I'm not sure you guys could do it outside of it being advertised as a deviation.
Your opinion, yes to what, I'm sorry?
That black wouldn't be allowed.
Would have to be a deviation
It would
because
have
it's
to
not
be a
one of the
deviation.
colors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so I'll propose that if that's
But
the
it could be
case.
a natural aluminum
Yeah.
color, that would be fine.
Well, if that's, yeah, if that's the case, maybe what we do is we approve it as natural finished aluminum, because that's what we can approve. And if the applicant feels strongly and wants to come back and request black, we can have that
We'll
dialogue
consider it,
at that
yeah.
time, yeah.
Okay, well,
Cool.
they were, the landscape architect, I asked color, he said just powder coated aluminum.
Yeah,
So
okay.
that
Yeah.
would be fine with them, so.
Okay.
So is one last, if we're beating the fence to death, so I'm gonna join in. I know that there are a lot of factors that influence this.
Yes.
But is the intent for the jasmine, is what you said they're gonna use, to cover most or almost all of the fence or all of the fence?
That is correct, yes. The intent would be, to have.
They want a
the
live-in
jasmine.
fence, what it's
Right.
called a live-in fence, so
So-
that the vegetation will cover all of it. So really, it's not gonna be seen.
Hopefully, yeah.
So the intent would be to create
Fertilize that jasmine.
just a landscaped serene patio.
Right, I mean, just vegetation, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's
So they
green.
need to take good care of that jasmine.
Yes, and they will have other plants in the planters and as well.
Is that technical?
Lee, and you know what? If I can have jasmine in my house with my brown finger and it's lush, believe me,
It's pretty hard.
it'll work.
It's pretty hard.
Okay, so I'm feeling like we're drawing to a close. Any other items that we wish to discuss? We've talked about lighting, we've talked about the scope of what we're approving, we've talked about the fence, we've talked about, I think, everything we need to talk about. So, any other items that the board wishes to discuss? All right, if it's okay, I'll ask for the public input now. Anybody in the audience wish to comment on this item? Okay, any further comments from the applicants?
No further comments.
Okay, all right. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second,
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. We've had no public comment. So, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. So by my math, that brings us to item number 6. Running out of fingers here.
yes. Oh, no.
Okay, you're stuck with me now to the bitter end. Okay, Impulse Church Building Sign. This is in our favorite plaza that does not have a master signage plan, Santa Rosa Plaza. So they're requesting a building sign measuring 36 inches by 204 inches for a total of 51 square feet on 4 acres with the future land use of mixed use and a zoning of village mixed use. And as I said, it's in Santa Rosa Plaza, so it needs to come before this board. It is compliant with the scenic corridor requirements, and with that said, I'll answer any questions you may have. And the applicant is here.
Are we doing anything with all the signage on the windows? Because all the windows have a lot of signage on them as well.
No, We're not doing anything
We're
with
not
that.
doing anything with that?
No.
That's a corridor-wide problem, that's a code enforcement issue.
But we made somebody else take theirs off.
We did?
Yep.
Yeah, one
Shoe
point.
store.
I mean, they're not supposed to be there. The code allows 25% of the signage, 25% of the window, but it's a temporary sign. If you read the language, it's temporary. So when I say no, it's nothing we're going to consider at this meeting, but is it allowed? Really, the answer is no. It's not allowed. So it becomes a code issue. I mean, what's before us this evening is the building sign.
And I
Okay.
think that window signage was part of the proposal, the last one. This is already there. It's like,
It was already there, the other one, too. They
Was
had to go
it?
take it off.
I mean, you can put it in your motion, and I can forward it to code enforcement, but temporary signs don't come before the board, so it's nothing you all can really consider, but if you feel strongly, you can put it in your motion that these signs should be removed.
Well, the reason I feel strongly about it is because we had another store that had it on there for years and years and years, remove theirs.
Yeah, that was the
shoe store.
the shoe place.
Sunset Shoes.
Yes.
Mhm.
And, unfortunately, that was a complaint. Someone made a complaint, code went out there and said, you can't have these.
Well, if they can't have it, then these shouldn't have it either.
They asked for a deviation, you guys denied their deviation. No, I agree, but
oh,
it,
had they asked for a deviation?
no.
So, yeah, I mean, but it's all along the corridor. It needs a code enforcement major effort. I'm not saying we
Right.
shouldn't ask for it
Right.
here, I'm just saying.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have the manpower. We are in the process of hiring another code officer, but I agree. If one can't have it, none of them should have it. But the bottom line is, we just don't have the manpower to make that happen. But that was a particular request. They were asking, can we have a deviation to keep these signs? And you guys said
That's what I
no.
meant. The last one was a deviation.
Yeah, and you guys denied it, so they were
Yeah, this
forced
is
to.
not-
Oh,
The
yeah.
way to put it
This
is that,
complaint. Yeah, that's-
that, exactly, in other words, that was the subject of the application. In this
Yeah.
case, the subject of the application is the sign on the top of
Right.
it.
Make a motion, we approve the sign
Second.
with a note
Yeah.
acknowledging there are illegal graphics, potential illegal graphics on the window, on the glazing.
I'll include that with my second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. The one thing we need to get before we act on the motion is public input. So do we have any members of the audience that wish to comment? Also, we have not heard from the applicant themselves.
Yeah, that's true, and I did have, I actually have a question.
The applicant isn't here?
No.
They're here, okay. And sir,
I'm sorry.
that's okay. No, there's nothing wrong. We're allowed to have dialogue relating to the motion, so, but we have a motion to approve with a note. It's been properly seconded on the floor. So, Mr. Applicant,
Yes, sir.
welcome.
Thank
Please
you.
introduce yourself and spell your name for the record, please.
Kim Sutton, KIMSUTTON with Vintage Art and Sign.
Okay.
How can I help?
Here is a question I have. This, the verbiage on the graphic says, oh wait, hold on. What color is the raceway? Let me just ask that question.
Matches the building.
There it is. It must be a different one. Sorry, I thought
What
it was
is-
white for some reason, huh?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I got mixed up. I thought the raceway was white, but it's not. It says matches the building color.
Oh,
which is-
it's on the first sheet. It says white trim and returns.
Yeah, I must have.
Raceway color to match facade.
Yeah, it's
So-
good. I misread it, or I'm thinking of another one or something.
Yeah.
I'm
So
good.
white trim and returns means the letters have color and that the
Yep.
body of the letters are white, and then the raceway itself is the color of the facade.
Correct.
Yes.
Awesome.
I
That all
was
good?
wanting the raceway the color of the facade. I meant either, like I said, I either remembered a different application or misread it.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. Any other comments or questions from the board? Nope. Okay. In that case, we are ready to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, next, Tusker's Home Store Building Sign. They're requesting to replace an existing sign. They're requesting a building sign measuring 48 inches by 180 inches for a total of 60 square feet on 1.18 acres with the future land use of mixed use and a zoning of coastal center. This building is in excess of 15,000 square feet, so they can have a larger than a 54 square foot sign, so they're asking for 60. Previously, the sign that's in there today was granted a deviation on October 5th, 2013 as an additional building sign. So on the front of that building, there's two signs. So now they want to take that sign down and replace it with a different one. So it does meet the requirements of the scenic corridor, and that was granted a deviation for that sign to be allowed. So with that said, I'll answer any questions you may have.
How large is the primary sign?
I believe it's at the max, 100 square feet. And this is actually smaller than what's there now. I think it's on the graphic. It showed the previous, but the 60 square feet is smaller than what's there now. But I'm sorry, I cut you off.
That's fine. That's what I was wanting to find out.
Yeah, this sign is a little bit smaller than that Tommy Bahama sign that was currently on the building.
So on the front of the building, on both signs, it's Tusker's. It says
Yeah,
Tusker's
it's
on
gonna
both sides.
Yeah, that's the proposal.
And that's the what is, God, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place.
The deviation was to allow that second sign. So there's two signs in the front, so you guys granted, or this board granted,
okay.
that second sign.
The Tommy Bahamas sign.
Yes.
Okay.
So now I guess Tommy Bahamas has moved out of there, so they're just gonna put up another sign that says Tusker's Home Store. But it is smaller than that Tommy Bahamas sign. Because they could go up to 100 square feet, but they're only doing 60.
Well, here's I guess a question is, does the number of tenants, did the number of tenants in the building change?
It used to be Tusker's and Tommy Bahamas, and now it's all Tusker's.
Well, I think
So we used to have two tenants, and now we have one tenant.
Correct.
No, I think it was Tommy Bahama's Furniture.
Product that they
It's
carry.
Tommy Bahama Furniture.
Oh.
There wasn't a Tommy Bahamas in there. It's a furniture store.
Yeah.
So the it's still one tenant, it's Tusker's. But they carried Tommy Bahama
Brand.
Furniture, so that's
Oh,
why
the
they put the
brand.
sign up. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
okay.
this is similar in concept to the one we approved earlier? Not too shabby?
Basically, except,
Except they probably have a honking monument sign that our poor other not too shabby people don't.
They do.
In the middle, that they don't have the
They do.
I mean,
benefit
barely
of.
see it.
it's slightly different, and
And I
they
say
were,
honking, I mean, it's right there in front, clearly visible.
Yes.
Whereas not too shabby does not have that wonderful,
yes, but it's a
Signage.
little different in so much as they were asking for an additional sign, where these people are asking for a replacement sign. But when you take the sign down, you have to get the new sign approved.
But it's repetitious to me.
Well, we can't
yeah.
regulate
We can't
the
regulate
sign
the words.
content.
And this is, I have a problem conceptually with approving a deviation because there was a past deviation granted.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when a change happens, it's a great time to sort of get back into compliance with the code. Not that it doesn't comply, but get back to the original intent of the code. So that's
Well,
one
and
comment.
and that's why the code says a deviation does not create a
Precedent.
precedent, right?
Yes,
I mean, we stated that in the code. It does not create a precedent.
yes.
Yeah, and this would be the perfect situation where you wouldn't be following the precedent because the precedent was created by giving a deviation to the Tommy Bahama sign, and now it's all Tusker's.
But
Yes.
we can't regulate content, just because
No,
we
that's
can't.
not what she's saying. I don't.
No, but I mean, the situation has changed. You're taking out the Tommy Bahamas, and that was that had been created a situation, right? And
Yeah,
that's
I'm
why
not
we
sure
gave
that,
him
I'm
the
not sure we're
desi-
regulating content. What we were doing was considering that the content of one sign was different than the content of another sign.
Right.
Well, that may be true, but the deviation was for an additional sign. Doesn't matter what the sign said.
Correct.
It was for an additional sign. You can have two signs instead of one.
Well, I guess, let me back up to make sure I understand what you're saying. Are you saying that we've already approved the second sign, and
You-
therefore?
You approved that they can have two signs.
Well, this board, not necessarily these people.
Right, that's right.
Right,
2013, I think it was. it said.
2013.
So, I don't
before
know.
my time.
Yeah.
I remember the building coming.
So this
before
board
us.
approved that they can have
Side
two
signage.
signs.
So
In my
another-
mind, it doesn't matter what they say.
But that creates, but, you know, what you're saying is that no, that doesn't create a precedent, because we approved that deviation,
That's right.
doesn't
But
mean
what's before us
that
today
it
is not a
creates a
deep.
precedent. So now we can vote freely as to whether we wanna approve
Yeah, but
this
this-
new deviation or not.
I'm gonna
It's
belabor
not a
this.
deviation.
That's what I'm saying. That's
It's
what
a
I'm-
replacement. The other one was. The other one was a deviation because it changed ownership, right? Brocanti took their signs down, so now all bets are off. So when Not Too Shabby came in, they needed their own deviation. Well, Tusker's already had this deviation. They're not asking for another one. They're just asking for this, a replacement. When that sign comes down, then it has to come back to this board to be approved because they don't have a master sign plan.
Personally, I don't think they need another sign.
But it's not a deviation. The deviation was approved in 2013. And we
Right, but
cannot,
that doesn't mean that we have to continue on with the sign. I mean, it's before the board to determine whether or not the sign is allowed, right?
no.
Well,
Well, what
this
are
is
we
a
doing
fine
then?
point.
Well, you have to determine whether you want to approve it, but not that it is allowed, but you can deny it for any reason other than content. You can't
Okay.
say, because
okay.
it says Tuskers, we're going to deny the sign. You cannot do that.
Okay,
Okay.
so we can't deny it because it's duplicate, you know, like what
Right.
you were saying.
Right.
But we can deny it because there's only a single tenant and, you know.
Well, there was a single tenant before.
Oh, yeah.
The tenant
This
didn't
is a-
change.
no.
Well, we can't approve it just because we approved I mean, I'm trying to understand what the code says that we do not have to follow precedent. When are the cases when we?
A deviation does not, this is not a deviation. The deviation was approved in 2013. This
Yeah,
is
so I
not,
guess where I'm going is, in other words.
So when does it create a precedent?
This is gonna sound a little bit silly, but I'm exploring the limits of what's possible
Yes.
this evening. If we deny this request, then the Tommy Bahama sign can stay there. It's
Yes.
it's nonsensical for the tenant based on what's happening in the store right now, but that would be within the board's purview.
yes. And when I say you can't do it, I mean, it comes down to if you get sued. I mean, you can deny the sign, but if,
Well, they have the option of taking the sign down if they don't want to have to advertise Tommy Bahama.
I'm just saying, the Supreme Court says you can't regulate content.
Understood.
But that's not what we're here for
That's not
tonight
what
on
we're
this. We're
regulating,
here to
really.
determine whether or not we
We're
want
gonna approve the new
sign.
sign.
Yes, but I'm just saying, if you say, we're gonna deny it because they both say Tuskers, you're regulating content.
No, I would suggest that we would consider, the sentiment I'm hearing is that the denial would be based on the fact that the two signs present, that they're the same information.
Okay, I think that's.
They're redundant. It's a redundant sign. Previously,
I
it was
mean-
not a redundant sign.
We might have to talk to our legal counsel, but that sounds doable. That's not regulating the content. You're just saying, you're saying the same thing with both signs.
Yeah.
They don't say exactly the same thing.
Right.
Well,
One said Tuskers
So,
Furniture,
Tim, where's the other sign, the other information that's duplicative?
it's right there. Tusker's Furniture Trading Company, and then this says Tusker's Home Store.
So typically, we have one sign on the front of 98, and if it's a corner, then there's one sign on the side.
Yes, if it's on,
So
if there's
if we
a,
denied this, we are in compliance with our codes.
Let me, and I'm gonna ask one more, because I'm exploring stuff here,
Mhm.
if it's okay. Actually, do you want to answer Donna's question?
Yes, as long as you're not doing it because of what it says.
Right,
Okay.
right.
As long as you, the justification for that denial is, as long as it's not for what the sign says.
Right,
Okay.
got it.
Is, okay, and the applicant pointed out that the existing sign to remain says Tusker's Furniture Trading Company. I guess it's a person sitting underneath it. Is that what's going on? Yeah,
They're-
okay, yeah,
that's
the
what they're
photograph,
on it.
yeah.
They're working on this.
That's an elephant.
Oh, that's an elephant. Okay, it's not a person. There are people on the ladder. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, then,
And a person and four.
no jokes about elephant in the room. So, Tommy Bahama Home is, I understand it's a brand.
Yeah, it's a brand.
So is Tusker's Home Store, is this effectively, I mean, is this a logo? If you go in and buy something in the shop, does the bag have that Tusker's Home Store and the elephant on it?
I believe it is one of the.
Type of thing? Okay.
It's like their, what do you call that? Like,
Logo.
Branding.
Yeah, brand,
Private label,
yeah,
is that what that's called?
okay, yeah.
So can we say, let's say it's just, you know, I prefer having just one sign instead of two because it's too busy?
I mean, this board approved them having a second sign, so
I
I'm
know,
not,
but
That
I wasn't
doesn't
on the
matter.
board.
I'm not sure you can come back and
Yeah.
say,
What,
we changed our mind, now you can't
I'm
have
gonna
it.
keep exploring here, if I can, I'm gonna use my chairman's prerogative.
Prerogative.
So, the Tommy Bahama sign, based on the graphics, I'm gonna suggest that the letters that compose Tommy Bahama, the capital T and the capital B, look smaller than, well, certainly that's one row of letters, and then there's a very small home underneath. The combination of the 20 and 32-inch tall letters, to me, are more substantial. In other words, the new sign has a bigger presence.
even though technically
Color
it's a little
size.
bit smaller overall. Is that what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I'm just gonna throw out there as a possibility, if it's a logo type branding thing, it's not really the same thing as the main building sign. I can buy that. It's on a tower looking element, so I can kind of buy, you know, that putting a sign on that sort of makes sense. But what I'm starting to hone in on that bothers me about it is the fact that it's 48 inches overall. It has a bigger presence on the building in its proportion. It fills up more space between the upper windows and the lower windows than the Tommy Bahama sign does. So I'd suggest, if the rest of my fellow board were inclined to approve this, I think I would argue it needs to be smaller, like maybe 36 inches tall
And
overall.
actually, add up the dimensions on the right-hand side.
That's interesting, yeah. I guess there's a space. The elephants,
You step down inside.
52.
yeah.
I'm confused.
I think it looks really busy, personally.
One size is.
Well, and I think in terms of, I don't disagree with what you said, but I mean, the difference really is the Tommy Bahamas is one line of text and this is two.
Yep.
But in terms of what they could have, I mean, it could go up to 60 inches tall, but it shows the existing sign is 4 feet by 16.6. This one's 4 by whatever.
Yeah, but the word home, the scale of the letters, because of the Y in Tommy Bahama, home looks like it's a lot lower down. Home does not look like it's 20 inches tall, which is what the lower line in the new sign is. Home looks like it's less than half the height of the T and the B. So,
The space.
yeah, I'm sort of picturing if the Tusker's Home Store sign was 3/4 the size, in other words, if it went from 48 inches overall down to 36 inches overall, I'm thinking that would be an improvement. Now, I'm not suggesting that I'm trying to force my opinion on that we should approve it.
Well, and I
But if we
think
were to
that's
approve it,
in
I
your
would suggest it needs to
purview.
be smaller.
But if you, I mean, you can grant something less than
Yeah.
what they're applying for.
So I'll throw that out there for y'all's reaction. Does smaller solve anybody's problem?
I think it's busy.
It makes it better. I think that Tim, what you were saying, were you saying that we cannot, for lack of a better word, relitigate tonight that they were given a deviation for 2 signs on the front of the building.
I don't think
regardless
so. I
of
mean,
content.
that's more your
Content.
purview.
This is, what I'm gathering for this discussion is that the deviation was granted for the second sign, and the change of that sign from one type of, and then after the deviation, then the sign application was brought forward, and that was considered and approved by this board, or another iteration of this board.
Yes.
The changing of the sign from one sign to a different type of sign does not eliminate the deviation that was previously granted. So
That's
there
what
are,
I
the
think, yes.
property owner is entitled to have a sign, or whoever the tenant
Yeah,
property
'cause
owner is
the-
entitled to have a sign there. And then the design review board now has the purview, just like any other sign application that comes before you, to decide whatever within the constraints that you have. Now, I would caution you that anything regarding the language, the content of the sign, it being duplicative or anything else, I would caution you against basing a decision on that information.
Well, I'll throw out if I could. So for sake of conversation, if we were to say the Tuskers can remain 32 inches tall, but the home store needs to shrink down such that it overall fits in 36 inches tall, would that be an acceptable judgment, I guess you'd call it, of the application before us?
If that's something that's normally in your scope of what you normally make decisions based on size, I think that would be okay. Unless the deviation had granted specific sizes.
No,
but
it was
then I-
just a deviation for an additional
For
sign.
an additional sign.
So I think that is within your purview.
I think you're treating this just like any other sign application where somebody's entitled to have a sign and you decide what you think looks good.
Yes, I agree with that completely. It's just, they were approved for 2 signs. I don't think you can come back now and say, well, no, we're only going to give you, I mean, you can turn it down for another reason, but I don't think you can say, well, no, now we're going to say you can only have 1 sign.
Are you aware that anything like this specific situation has ever happened?
No, I think this is the first time.
Highly unusual. Like,
I mean, the other one was the first time too. You know, they got the deviation, but then the business went out of business. So that was unique as well.
oh, so this is not the first time this sign has changed since they were
No,
granted the
it has. I
deviation?
was talking about the other one, not too shabby.
Oh, got it.
I mean, that's
So-
a unique situation as well.
So here's an interesting, like, when we first started discussing this, I'm just gonna compare it to another concept in the code. Like, when someone purchases a property and renovates it, they then have to bring it into compliance with the code if it's not, right?
Yes,
Or even if they renovate it and they already owned it.
yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. Any exterior modification has to be approved by this board.
So we're trying to apply the same concept to this situation, and I'm hearing from you that's not in the code. That if they change something that's a deviation, then they no longer have the deviation approved, or whatever you want to call it.
Right, you can't take it.
They have the deviation approved.
It's,
That's
it's,
what I'm hearing from
it's
you.
like a variance. A variance is good forever. They may or may not utilize it, but once it's approved, it's good forever. Same way with the deviation. But I guess, from what I spoke with Sydney, I guess it does break with ownership. When Brocanti went out of business, that deviation went away when they took that sign down. So now you got a new business, we want to put a sign, well, you got to get your own deviation. But this is the same business doing the same thing, so that deviation doesn't go away.
So then my second, so you got that,
I have
so then my second, or do you have a question about that?
No, but the Brocanti, it was the prior retail operator in where Not Too Shabby was, correct?
Right, yes.
But not the owner of the building.
The owner of the building is the owner of the building.
Right,
He
the owner
granted
from New
the
York.
deviation request to Bricante,
That was not too,
Okay.
Not
yeah,
too
I guess
shabby,
that's
yeah.
true,
It was
yeah.
the same
I guess
owner.
that's true, the same owner,
It was the same
yes.
owner.
I guess they
But
they both leased the building.
Right.
And the deviation was granted to Brocanti,
yes.
With the
not they were
permission of
the
the
applicant.
owner.
Correct,
Yes, to Brocanti,
Okay.
not to the owner.
And this
Yeah.
is the same owner as well.
correct.
Yeah.
So now my second point, if I'm okay to go ahead with it before I forget it.
Please do.
In relation to what you suggested, David, I don't disagree that the sign is has much more of a presence than the old sign. So shrinking it would be a good thing in my mind, but I'm guessing there was some careful thought that went into the design of the size of the letters in comparison to one another. So my suggestion would be instead require shrinking of the sign overall height and let them,
Figure out how
Figure
to
out.
compose it within that.
right.
Yep,
If-
okay.
if- Because really, the home store is more impactful because of that bigger, thicker font than the Tuskers.
I agree.
To me.
Exactly.
The Tuskers and the
So-
elephant are probably, in my and just looking at it as a graphic, I'd say Tuskers and the elephant probably could stay the same size. The home store, if it shrank, to me, it'd be a more handsome sign.
But it might start looking a little weird.
Yeah, because
Because
it's
of the
all
different-
aligned on the bottom. And I think partly is if you compare the Tommy Bahama sign versus the Tusker sign, the distance between the bottom of the home store and the top of the windows
Yep.
is a lot smaller than the Tommy Bahamas, which was one line. And I think
Mhm.
that's in terms of what you were talking about in terms
The
of
composition,
proportions
yeah.
and composition.
That's,
And that's what I agree with, Lee, that if it all shrinks a certain amount,
Yeah.
it might be
Well,
better, or
yeah.
even if they
If
moved
we
it up a
set-
little
yeah,
bit, you
if
know?
we-
Yeah, it's a little low.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not centered.
Okay, well, we could, again, just kind of throwing things out there for the rest of the board to react to. We could specify an overall height, and we could specify a center point or a minimum clearance, or make it equal or something, language like that, to place the sign between
Between the two windows.
the upper row of windows and the second floor windows.
so design professionals, what would that little sound and look like?
Well, this here design professional doesn't make motions,
He
so.
can make a
That there.
motion, you know?
That
doesn't have
their
to make
design,
the motion.
well, I've shared with you, I mean, I hate making specific recommendations without the amount of thought that the applicant's representative here probably made, but again, in round numbers, I think that 36 inches overall, to me, seems like it would shrink it sufficiently that it would be a better composition on the architecture of the building, and hopefully would still be legible from the street. Again, using the Tommy Bahama, which looks like it's perfectly legible, it is a fairly, I think people recognize, you might not be able to make out the individual letters, but you know what it says. But I think 36 inches would be a good starting point, but I'm open to other ideas.
So that's
12 inches shorter.
12 inches shorter,
Mhm.
that's a lot.
That's a lot. You might wanna add a couple inches to take care of that little elephant's feet. They're a little low.
Well, I think if you might do like maybe 40 inches and and center it between the windows and
Yeah.
the bottom window and
That's what I was thinking.
and the sill of the top window and the header of the bottom window, if you can center that and make that maybe 40 inches, I think you'll be okay. So do I make a motion?
Now, is that something we can do where I can submit to Tim, where I don't have to come back before the board?
Yep.
Yes, we would give you a criteria, as long as you're within that criteria, then you're good to go.
That's why
Yeah,
we're
that
trying to be
allows
so
you to-
specific.
That allows you to decide whether you wanna make the Tuskers larger or the
Yeah.
home store larger or any composition, as long as you can make it, between 40 inches and center the sign between the sill of the top window and the top of the bottom window,
Yes, ma'am.
so that it's centered on that blank space, I think we'll be fine.
Okay, so, Tim, you trust that the system, our newfangled system, will capture that motion?
Yeah, just say, I make a motion to that effect.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's see.
You don't have to state all of it, just say, I make a motion.
Yeah, okay, I make a motion to approve the Tuskers home store sign. If it's 40 inches tall and it sits between the top of the bottom window and the sill of the top window, centered between the two. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, got a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. As always, we'll get comments from any other members of the audience who wish to comment. Nope, not seeing any, so in that case, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you, Kim. This is-
You're
the next one.
here for a triple header tonight, huh? All right.
Yeah.
All right, that brings up item number 8, seller's tile master signage plan.
Yes, they don't actually have, do they have 4 tenants? I don't think they.
Themselves in two.
Yeah, they don't actually have 4 tenants, but they want a master sign plan, because the code says if you have 4 or more, you're required to do it. So they're not required, but they want to do a master sign plan. So that's, the request is for a master sign plan and the monument, so they want to get their monument sign approved tonight, on 2.10 acres with a future land use of mixed use and a zoning of village mixed use. And the master sign plan is in compliance, they provided everything that's required. So I'll answer any questions you guys have. I did pull, I mean, Kim's got a picture of the building that's under construction, but I did pull from the original approval the color rendering, and I included that in your packet so you can see what the building, the finished building is proposed to look like.
Okay, all right, do we have any preliminary comments by members of the board before I invite the applicant to make a brief presentation?
Nope.
All right, the applicant could come forward and tell us about it. And I know you've been up before, but since the system, if you could introduce yourself and spell your name for the record.
Absolutely. It's Kim Sutton, KIMSUTTON, with Vintage Art and Sign.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We are looking at a main building sign, all aluminum construction, reverse channel letters, satin black finish with a satin silver returns. We are at 42.5 inches tall overall by 338, puts us at 99.75 square feet. The tenant signs would fall under the 36 inches tall, 54 square feet max on each of those, at whatever point they move forward with one of those.
Okay. And Jim, for clarity, we're approving a master signage plan and the monument sign all in one motion?
Yes.
Okay. I know that sometimes, Madam Attorney, sometimes we've had signage, master signage plans, it seems like we've had them separately from the monument sign. Do we,
Well, I've been trying to, I mean, we can
Oh.
do it in maybe it would be better.
it's a single
two separate-
application or?
Single application, but maybe it would be better to have 2 motions, because the monument sign doesn't fall under the master sign plan, that's for the building signs.
Yes.
But they wanted, I allowed them to do it under one application,
Okay.
but I think it would be better if you do
Two motions. Okay,
yeah.
awesome.
If they can be, if one could be granted and the other one could be denied separately like that, then
Right,
it's
right.
best to
Yeah.
have
Okay.
2 motions.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
I noticed that it does say 1 sign per tenant. Thank you for putting that in there.
Congratulations, Susan.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What?
That's it. Congratulations. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's good.
he gets it.
Lord.
All right.
I like it. So you wanna do how you wanna do, which one first?
Well, I'll let whoever makes the motion decide that. I'm feeling lenient
Okay,
today.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the monument sign.
Second.
Okay. Okay, we've got a motion to approve the monument sign. It's been seconded. Does anybody else present in the audience wish to address this item? Nobody indicated they did, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, that brings us back to the master signage plan.
This is just a question for curiosity for me. Does remote mounted, what does that mean? That means it's just offset from the face of the building, facade of the building?
It means there's no raceway.
Cool. I hate raceways, so that's another good. Oh, I hate them.
I move to approve.
Dislike them a lot.
Second.
Yeah.
All right, Lourdes moved. Tom seconded. Okay, do we have any comments from members of the audience? No one has indicated they wish to comment, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. All right. So, thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Night.
Okay, that brings up item 9, the shops at Inlet Master Signage Plan Amendment. Which I think this is, Tim, as an introduction, this is an item, or a project that has been before us before, and I think we had some stuff coming back for.
Well, the amendment,
Oh.
everything was previously approved, so that was all good to go.
Okay.
The amendment is to add the parcel to the east, which is the Oyster Bar.
Ah, okay, awesome.
Because they had actually done previously a less than minor development order to combine those, because they're all owned by the same person. So they're all under, it's all one project now. So you got the shops and you've got the Oyster Bar, separate parcels, but now it's all one project, one owner. So this master sign plan is to add that additional parcel. Nothing else changed. They've added what, the building signs, what they're gonna look like and everything to the master sign plan, but everything else stayed the same. There was no changes to any of the other signs. And actually, right now, I think all the signs are up in the shopping center. They've all been approved. So this is an amendment to add that adjacent property.
So it's
Okay.
separate from the building. It's not attached to the building, the other shops at Inlet. It is? Not.
I'm confused about what you're asking.
So I'm confused about what we're looking at.
This is
So
standalone. It's
This
not
is a
combined.
standalone building?
Yes, it's a standalone building that was adopted as an overall project. They're together, but it's kind of hard to describe. They have a common driveway, so you come in, you go left to the shops, you go right to the Oyster Bar, which is not built. It's got a,
Okay.
it's
so
got a
this is
development
not-
order, but it's not
the old
built.
spicy noodle.
Correct.
It is.
It
It's-
is the old
is?
spicy noodle.
It's the old
Yeah.
spicy noodle,
Which
yes.
didn't we already approve?
The site plan, but
Years
not the
ago.
signage plan.
But it didn't look like this, I don't remember. Or did it?
Well, she doesn't know exactly what it's gonna look like, so she did her best job of showing her best guess at what it's gonna look like.
Okay. I think but it'll be all the same.
Because even though it's approved and it's got a DO, I'm not sure they've really decided on exactly. And of course, if they're gonna change it, they're gonna have to come back. But she did her best guess about what the building signs will look like, because that building has not been built. The old spicy noodle is still sitting there, but my understanding is it's completely gutted on the inside.
But the renderings have been approved, haven't they, or have they?
Well,
Well,
look quite different, yeah. I think the building has evolved pretty significantly. The architecture has.
yes, but I'm
But it's,
not,
the bottom line is that this is going to be governed by all the signage plan that we've approved for the adjacent property.
correct.
So whatever the building looks like, the signage
Will be consistent.
is gonna be consistent between the properties. So I'm gonna suggest, in my opinion, this is a bit of a no-brainer.
And it really comes down to just one building sign, because they're not on a corner lot, so they're gonna have one building sign facing Highway 98. Because they're gonna share the monument. The monument is sitting at the entrance off of Highway 98. So there won't be two monument signs, there'll be one, and it's currently up. So really,
this-
all this does is add that one building sign that's
This
gonna
is gonna be the
face.
same flavor, taste as everything else is.
Yes.
Motion to approve.
Yep.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Do we have anybody in the audience that wishes to comment on this item? Nobody has indicated they would. Do we have any other comments or questions from the board? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Yep.
Thank
Sorry I didn't
you.
invite you up, but I figured it was. Yes, all right. Okay, that brings us to item number 10, Davis Watkins Building Sign.
Yes, this is a request for a building sign measuring 3 feet by 11.68 feet for a total of 35.04 square feet on .53 acres with a future land use of mixed use and a zoning of coastal center. I the applicant's not here. I tried multiple times to get a larger sign graphic for you guys to look at because it's tiny, or at least printed out, it's tiny. But it is in compliance with the scenic corridor regulations. It's just very small to try to make out any detail.
Is there already signage on this building?
Honestly, I don't know.
This was the Goodwill building. We did the home, Goodwill
Yeah,
home
but
before, and they
How
they
do I know
moved.
that's what that
Oh, they
is?
moved?
Mhm.
How do
Before I
what?
see it tonight.
What's that?
I don't know. I mean, I knew that's what that was.
I can't
wonder
tell
how
what
I-
that sign is.
Oh, I think it's,
blurred.
yeah, there's
it's
the
all
graphic
blurred.
below it.
Oh, okay.
So this does not look like individual letters to me. And when I look at the bigger version of it down below,
Uh-huh.
this looks like a one-piece sign.
Mm-hmm.
Two, actually, but same
With the
concept.
flower being
Mhm.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah. I don't
the
think,
closest I can say is I think this sign looks awfully similar to the two illegal signs that inadvertently made it onto the side of the old Beef O'Brady's or whatever, a couple lots down.
yep. I don't think this meets the code.
Well, I made several attempts to get a better graphic and.
Make a motion, we tabled it.
Continue.
Continue it.
I
Okay.
second.
Okay, we have a motion to continue. It's been properly seconded.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Me?
Lourdes.
So Tom motioned, Lourdes seconded. By the way, Tim, I'm taking notes too that I'm gonna give to you. To continue to the next meeting, I assume?
And that's one thing we need to, actually, we probably did that at the beginning, should have did it at the beginning of the meeting. The next meeting falls on the 4th of July,
Oh, yeah, we got it.
so we're gonna have to, you guys are gonna have to vote on a new date, which I thought we did that right off the bat when we brought you the 2019, but with Karen not here, Karen being out, Rachel indicated we were gonna have to change it tonight, vote on a new, but I could have swore we already did that. But anyway, we're gonna have to do that before we can continue this, because we gotta continue it to a date certain.
Yep, so here's a question. What are the other meetings, and is there a meeting we have to have before? Do we need to beat the planning? In other words, we usually have items that come from us and go to the planning board, or the planning commission, so what is the date they're meeting?
The following Thursday.
So
It's
as long
always
as
the
we meet-
second Thursday of the month.
So we could meet the following week. We would just need
Anytime
to
the
meet-
well, let's see.
When's this room available?
Actually, that Tuesday would be a commission meeting, right?
Probably.
Is the second meeting, so it would have to be,
The 10th, Wednesday.
it'd pretty much have to be Wednesday, yes.
And does that give you enough time? In other words, would you advertise things as if they were approved, and then if they don't get approved, you just don't have them on the agenda?
Well, as long as they get it in before the advertising date,
Yeah.
we'll put them on that agenda. But once that date arrives, you go to the month after that. It's too late. You've missed the deadline.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this is being continued, but we have to continue to a date certain, so we do have to have a date.
Understood. I'm just making sure that in setting, if we set the date on the Wednesday after, we push it to the following Wednesday from the week we were originally
Yes.
supposed to have it. And the next night,
Is the planning
items we
commission.
approved, there's no staff issues with getting an item that was approved on Wednesday to the planning commission on Thursday.
Well, typically, no, because they're gonna go the following month.
They won't go the next day.
No. If they're being done in July, then they're gonna go to the planning commission in August.
So we already.
Okay, we don't have an issue. Okay, all right, cool. All right, in that case, what does everybody think? Do we want to do it on Wednesday, the
11th?
Yeah.
I mean,
10th.
10th, I'm sorry.
Yep. I'm good with that.
Wednesday the 10th,
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
okay with that.
July 10th.
It messes me up, but I'll do it.
And y'all send out a notice.
Yeah, we'll send out a notice.
Okay, so, I guess, can we we have a motion on the floor that just needs a date stuck in it. We could do that, and then we're gonna come back before we adjourn and set the date of the next meeting formally. Madam Attorney, we need to do that
That
formally?
would be
Okay, yeah, cool. Okay, I'll remember to do that. So,
So we just need to add the date to the motion.
All right, so I believe the intent of the motion, Mr. Tom, was to move to continue to July 10th DRB meeting.
Correct.
Do you have a second?
He has a second, but we haven't voted.
Yep, so and the second, Lourdes, was intended to include July 10?
Yes.
Could I make a suggestion on the
Yes, ma'am.
motion? Just in case for an unknown reason, if that date doesn't work, could you say July 10th or the next DRB meeting,
The next
whenever that
scheduled
may be? That way, we've got a little flexibility if
You
something
say
comes
that.
up.
Okay, yep, good.
Next scheduled meeting.
Okay, and your second, Lourdes, is good?
That's
right for
fine.
that? Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. In that case, do we get public comment on this? I don't think we did. Okay, anybody in the audience wish to comment? Nobody wishes to comment. Awesome. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
And can I just make a comment, Tim, in the interest of these folks' time and hours, can you give them feedback that it doesn't appear that these are individual letters and that would not meet code?
Yeah.
And they're not asking for a deviation, so we're not likely to approve, whatever it is that you tell people, because that's gonna waste everybody's time, I'm afraid.
Yeah, this has been confusing all the way around. I got a call from Davis Watkins, do we even need to go to the board? And I called them back to tell them, yes, you absolutely do, and they never contacted me back. So I haven't heard from them, and I haven't heard from the sign company.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Next item up is the Crow's Restaurant Limited, LTM, I guess.
Less than minor.
Less than minor, okay. Hadn't seen it presented that way.
Last
before.
but not least,
Yep, okay.
this item, and I didn't put it in the staff report. Previously, you approved everything but the color. The motion from that, I didn't put it in there, but the motion from that meeting was you would have to come back to the board for color. So that's what they're requesting here, is approval of the color of for the exterior modification, and they have provided approved Munsell colors. So what they're proposing is approved, and it's the last, like I mentioned, the last part of the approval for this project. So with that said, I'll answer any questions you may have.
All right, everybody able to open the exhibits?
And we do
Okay.
have the applicant here.
Okay, any preliminary questions or comments before I invite the applicant forward?
Looks good.
I just think
Okay,
it's so nice
Mr.
to have
Applicant, if you
approved
would.
Munsell colors.
And please do introduce yourself and spell your name for the record.
Bill Pope, representing Crest Properties and Cole and Company with W Architects.
Thank you.
Just so you know where the project is, I think most of you do, it's the old Buster's Restaurant. This is 98, this is old 98 or Scenic Golf Drive. This is the new Hilton Hotel going up right here along the, and Chick-fil-A would be in this corner. So, and this is the area that we're talking about, is this building right here, 6,000 square feet of tenant build-out. And that's what it is, it's a tenant build-out. We're not doing anything on the site, we're not doing anything. We're actually cleaning up, which you won't see tonight, but behind the Hilton, we're cleaning all that up pretty much. It's a mess, it's been there for 40 years.
Is it the same owner that's doing the Hilton that's doing this?
Crest Properties owns the center where the Chick-fil-A is, and also owns this and owns the Hilton, so they sort of own that point right there. This is the building itself that we're talking about, and again, the Hilton's right here, Scenic Highway 90 and 98's way up here, so. We're simply, we're keeping the colors the same on the building. It's a white all the way through there. But we've had to restructure the whole inside since it was so old. It didn't meet the wind loads and all that. So we've rearranged the storefront, which is gray. It's a Munsell color. And then we're adding the canopies here. And these blues are the same blue. And we're not here to talk about signs tonight. They haven't decided on the actual name. I think Crows will not end up being the name. But this canopy comes out over a small patio that's been added in the front. And then this canopy, the old entrance to Buster's used to be right here, We're closing all that off. This is actually, there's 2 stories in here, you don't know it, there's 2 floors, 12 inches difference, so we've redone that because that was a problem in the old restaurant. And then we've put the entrance in the middle of the existing space. So what we're asking for approval is on the storefront gray, the blues and the canopy, and then it doesn't show up very well here. It shows up dark, but it's a gray wainscot veneer, brick wainscot veneer along the bottom to give it a base across here. And the other side is a blank side that faces Scenic 98. We're just painting that out right now.
Okay.
And that's a larger picture of the colors and the Munsell colors.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from the board?
Thank you for cleaning up the mess behind there.
It's a mess.
It looks nice.
I think
It will be nice, and the
Yeah,
Hilton's
I like
looking
the
nice.
color.
That whole area is gonna look nice after the Hilton's done,
wonderful.
yeah.
Good. Motion to approve.
Second?
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Do we have any other comments or questions? All right, before we vote, anybody in the audience wish to comment? No one indicates they wish to comment, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And that was Donna motioned and Lorda seconded? Or did I get that backwards?
Yep.
You did it right.
Right, okay. All right. Okay, that brings us to setting the date of the July meeting.
I'd like to make a motion. July 10.
Okay.
And also on that, could I make another suggestion on that?
Yes.
Just again, and just in case there's a problem with that date, if I would ask that the motion would be July 10th, and if that's unavailable for some reason, if you would authorize staff to work with Mr. Bailey on setting a date, that would, again, give us a little more flexibility.
Absolutely, I'll do all of just what you said.
All of the above.
All right. Okay, we got a motion and a second. I don't think I need public comment on setting meetings, do I?
No.
All right, nope. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
That was Tom and seconded by Donna.
Thank you.
Okay, that, unless there is any other business to come before us, the next motion will be to adjourn. Do we have
Motion to
such a
adjourn.
motion? All right,
Second.
okay.
Second, third, and fourth.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
That was a good productive meeting. Okay, where's my
Good gracious.
A lot.
12, 13 if you include
A lot
adjournment.
of items.
Mr. Chairman, let's don't do this again. It's way too long.
I'm sorry for
You guys did approve July 10th, right?
Yes.
We did.
Or July 10th, or whatever he could work out if that doesn't work.
Oh, the July 10th is gonna be here.
Right, right.
All right.